All right, so I'm going to make a series of screencasts for you as either a review of tools that Mr. Billy went over that I'd like you to watch, and or maybe new tools that I am sharing with you that I think are important for you to be aware of in Photoshop and understand how to use for this project and any future projects. My first screencast I asked you to watch about, thank you, Sayun, again for letting me use this as my example. My first screencast, I was going over, different ways to play around with your background and clean up your image. And I would like you to do this. Other tools that you can work with would include your adjustment tools. All right, so I wanted to focus on adjustment tools and then selecting specific parts of the picture and adjusting them just to make sure that we're all on the same page here. All right, and just for the purpose of this lesson, I'm going to flatten my image so that it's just one. So I've taken Sayun's image and I've made it one layer. Let's say that I wanted to just add an adjustment to this picture as a whole, right? You can select your adjustments from your adjustment bar, right? So you have brightness, contrast, levels, curves, exposure, vibrance. So these are all different adjustments that you can play around with. I'm going to show you a few of them, and then you can go in and kind of experiment on your own with them. But if you're doing a tutorial that's asking for adjustments, this is what you're looking for. If for some reason you're not seeing a layer bar come up that you need to work with, like let's say your layers, your tools or adjustments or whatever is not coming up and showing on the main screen, if you go to Window, okay, so under Window, you can always find your tools within this section. All of these are tools. And the tools that are actively open are the tools that have little check marks next to them. All right. So if it does not have a check next to it, then it's not open. Right. So you can see my adjustments are open, but let's say they weren't open and I wanted to open them. I would just go to Window, Adjustments, and then they would pop open as you see here. So if I wanted to make an overall adjustment to my picture, two tools that I would use would be levels and hue saturation. I like to use those the most, I think, and I think they'd be most helpful for you. Levels I used earlier today, and that will change the value of the picture. So the dark value tab will pull dark values, the middle value tab will pull from your middle values, and then the lighter tab on the right will pull your light values. So that's a really great tool to use to adjust the value of the image. And then as you can see, it creates a layer bar above the background called levels. So you can turn that eyeball on and off to see the change or the adjustment that you've created. Another adjustment that I like working with is the hue saturation. So if I click on hue saturation, and I went over this before too, and I know I'm being repetitive, but I think it's important to understand these tools. Hue is another word for color. So if I wanted to change the color of something slightly, I can pull the hue to the right or the left, and it will change the color of the picture. So you're noticing that really the background's changing the most, not Sayun's dolphin, because the dolphin is more grayscale, although it does have a little bit of color to it. If you notice, that does change ever so slightly. Saturation will add vibrancy or intensity to your color. So if I pull it all the way to the right, it's going to intensify the color that's occurring in my image. If I pull it all the way to the left, it's going to take all of that color out and make it completely grayscale. So that's a really good tool to use as well. I don't really play with lightness. I don't like to use this. If I were going to make something lighter, I would use the level adjustment that I showed you, but you can also pull this to the left to make it lighter and pull it to the right to make left. I'm sorry. I know my left and right. The right to make it lighter and the left to make it darker. But notice it changes the overall picture, the darkness of it, and the overall lightness. So for this specific idea of changing the entire picture as a whole, I don't really recommend using that, but you might find a reason to, right? So that would be using your adjustment tools, right? So you can definitely play around with some of the other adjustments to see what they do. And if you have any questions about them, please let me know. The last thing I wanted to show you in this video was selecting specific parts. So let's say that I wanted to just change the dolphin in the background, right? So you've got this dolphin in the foreground and then you have got the one behind it. So I wanted to change that specific color. What I can do is select just that area. You can select, and I showed this in my last video, using your marquee tool, your polygonal lasso. You can also use your quick selection tool or your magic wand tool. So I showed the magic wand tool in the previous screencast, and you can see that it picks up light colors. Right now my tolerance is on 20. If I were going to put it on 30 and do this again, it's going to probably pick up a little bit more. Holding the shift key down, I can continue to pick up some of, some of that dolphin, right? Or I can use my quick selection tool, which is similar to the wand tool, but you just kind of hold over and drag over that area and it should pick up most of it. Okay, so it's just a matter of holding over and dragging over that space. You can use all of the tools together. You could use your marquee, you could use your lasso, you could use your oops. See, I'm using the quick selection tool in this area and it's not really working very well. So I just deselected it by doing Control Z. Now I'm using, my lasso tool. So using your lasso tool, you can click and outline certain areas of this and it will select that specific area. If you don't know how to use this, just ask me and I'll show you in class. But I use this as well. So I'm just kind of, whenever I click, it will create a point on that object. And then I can, almost like a scissor, click and create these edges to cut out this part of the dolphin. And then wherever you start, you must end. And to know your end point, you have like a little circle. You click and you have your selection. So now I think for the most part I have this entire dolphin selected, except for like little areas. So you might want to go back in and really make sure that you're selecting all the little parts that need to be selected, right? Okay, we're good. Oops. And it's important to, when you're also working, to zoom in and to zoom out. Control plus, Control minus. On a Mac, you can kind of spread your fingers open and it will zoom in and then in and will zoom out. So now I have just that dolphin selected, right? So now I can go to my adjustments and select just that dolphin and change any adjustments necessary. Like if I wanted to make it just a little bit darker, I can. If I wanted to, if I said, you know what, I want to make that dolphin just a little bit lighter, I can. All right. And that's how you can place an adjustment onto a specific part of your piece, right? So right now I'm just making a subtle adjustment to that dolphin, right? So you can see that you can make an adjustment to the whole picture in its entirety or select a specific part of it and change that specific part. All right, I hope this is helpful, and be on the lookout for my other screencast.